Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Two-time Olympian Tamara Thibeault signs with Most Valuable Promotions ahead of her pro debut, which I have since watched, and I liked what I saw.
She's good.
Two-time Olympian and amateur world champion Tamara Thibeault has become the latest addition to the roster of fighters signed to Most Valuable Promotions. The signing comes just prior to Thibeault making her pro debut against fellow Canadian and WBA-ranked middleweight Natasha "The Nightmare" Spence. Thibeault is making history with her very first pro fight as the first female boxer ever to begin her pro career with a bout contested over 4 3-minute rounds, as opposed to the usual 2 we see. Originally from Shawinigan,
Chimichanga,
Itchy-Gitchy-Ya-Ya-Ya-Ya,
a city in Quebec, Canada.
Thibeault began her boxing journey at the age of 9. She was inspired by seeing her father, a former CFL athlete who took up boxing in his off-season. Knocked out an opponent during a provincial tournament, Thibeault herself began boxing at age 12 and was inspired to compete for Canada while watching the first women's Olympic boxing competition at the 2012 London Games. Since then, the 27-year-old middleweight, a southpaw standing in at 6 feet tall, has forged an outstanding career in the amateur ranks. Thibeault made her Olympic debut at Tokyo in 2020, where she advanced to the quarterfinals of the women's 75 kg
It's 165 pounds.
event. She subsequently earned gold medals at the 2022 IBA Amateur World Championship, the 2022 Commonwealth Games, and the 2023 Pan Am Games. She currently lives in Sheffield, England, where she is earning a 1-year master's degree in urban design and urban planning while training at the renowned Steel City Gym.
And so, she doesn't have it all riding on boxing.
I am beyond excited to be a part of Most Valuable Promotions, said Thibeault. The moment has come to start a new adventure, and I truly believe that with MVP, I will have the opportunity to bring something great to women's professional boxing. Amandia Serranio has been an incredible inspiration, championing women's choice in this sport, and I'm proud to follow her example by competing under men's rules with 3-minute rounds against Natasha Spence in my pro debut today. This is only the beginning, and I can't wait to start this amazing journey. I'm thrilled to welcome another strong female fighter in Tam Thibeault to the MVP family, said Serranio. Tam's impressive accomplishments at the amateur level speak volumes about her talent and potential, and I'm confident she's destined to become a future star. Most importantly, she shares our vision to uplift female fighters and show the world that women deserve recognition, a platform, and equal opportunity in this sport. Tam Thibeault has the skills, inside and outside the ring, to ensure she has a long and successful boxing career, said Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian, co-founders of Most Valuable Promotions. As a 2-time Canadian Olympian and amateur world champion, Tam has already proven herself as one of the sport's brightest rising stars. Her decision to compete under men's rules in her pro debut is a groundbreaking moment, and we're honored to support her as she sets a new standard for what is possible in women's boxing. Now, I've already seen Tamara's debut, and I very much liked what I saw, but we're going to talk about that in another video. What I want to focus on here is the advantages she now has being promoted by Most Valuable Promotions.
Ever since Jake Paul laced the gloves up and endeavored into the world of boxing, there were people that didn't like him for it, didn't want to see him in it.
Some boxers and some boxing fans, I chose to be a lot more level-headed with my assessment, and I see the contribution he's making. I see how he's helping the sport and bringing a different set of eyes to it.
Even if it wasn't clear at first, it should be clear to most of you now that he's not just getting eyes on his fights, he's getting eyes on other fighters, young fighters, that they are developing through Most Valuable Promotions. Tamara Thibeault.
Think about it this way. If there weren't the Most Valuable Promotions around to sign her, where would she have gone? It's not a guarantee that she would have got picked up by Top Rank. Top Rank don't sign that many female fighters.
They only have one under contract since Anicia Estrada retired.
Now, Golden Boy Promotions has a couple of girls fighting under their banner, but not a single one among them is Canadian.
Now, Matchroom has a more international stable, fighters from all around the world, and they've got arguably the biggest female stable of fighters, but They haven't signed a single Canadian.
Yeah, Queensbury's got Chantel Cameron and Raven Chapman and 2 or 3 other girls I've seen them sign, but they haven't signed any Canadians either. You see, what I'm getting at is most valuable promotions carving out their own lane and doing their own shows
Provides opportunities that were not there before. Opportunities for a fighter like Tamara Thibeault, who's very good.
but perhaps wouldn't be the right fit for a Matchroom, for a Queensbury, for a Top Rank, for a Golden Boy. It probably wouldn't mesh with them. It meshes with MVP in a way that it wouldn't with those outfits, because MVP's here to disrupt the established order, carve out their own lane, develop their own fighters, do their own thing, and consider that they may be working with Netflix moving forward, and that's a very big platform.
So they've been doing a lot of shows on the DAZN platform, showcasing their youngsters, their talent.
DAZN is the international home of boxing. They cater to many, many markets. And how many more eyes could Tamara Thibeault get on her fights if she's lucky enough to land a spot on a Jake Paul undercard?
Even more.
A fresh face that the middleweight division sorely needs. I like this fighter. And what she could be for the middleweight division moving forward with somebody as high profile as Jake and Amanda Serrano behind her, she can really make a splash.
Clarissa Shields still holds 2 alphabet titles in the middleweight division, but her next fight is all the way up there at heavyweight. I don't know that she's ever going to come back down to 160.
Since moving all the way up there, 2 of the 4 titles that she used to hold have since gone vacant. It's looking a lot like the reset button is about to get hit at 160, making this a very opportune time for Tamara to campaign here.
She could easily become the face of this division.
I could see that. With the promotional push from MVP, all the exposure they could get her, and what she brings to the table as a fighter, I see a star in Tamara Thibeault. I do.
We'll talk more about her pro debut in another video.
Men's featherweight news. Nick Ball taunts TJ Doheny over quote-unquote back injury. Nick Ball accused TJ Doheny of quitting against Naoya Inoue when they met for the first time ahead of their WBA featherweight title fight on March 15th of next year at Liverpool's Echo Arena. Ball makes the second defense of his title after successfully stopping Ronnie Rios back in October at the M&S Bank Arena, a month after a back injury contributed to Doheny being stopped by the great Inoue, the undisputed super bantamweight champion. It's good to be back fighting in Liverpool where boxing should be, said Ball, 27, before the exchange intensified. It's no secret I was killing myself to get down to 126. I'll be a big, strong featherweight.
I think he meant 122.
On the night, it's annoying me so much, people saying I quit. I couldn't play in the park with my son for a month, to which Ball responded, I don't regret saying that he quit. Only he knows at the end of the day. Make sure your back is good. Ireland's Doheny, 38, then heated up when he replied, you'll be a starfish on your back.
I agree with Nick Ball and a lot of other people. I think that TJ Doheny, sampling Inouye's power, saw what direction the fight was going in, and he used that as an opportunity to get out of there. That guy quit.
We've seen fighters battle through adversity with bad cuts and broken orbital bones. He knew he suffered a broken orbital bone in the first Nonito Donaire fight, but he battled on, he continued, and he won the fight. I even saw one guy fight on with a dislocated shoulder, essentially one-handed, and he used the other hand, the good hand, to score a knockout. We've seen some really mesmerizing things in less than fortunate situations from the fighters, whereas with TJ,
it just looked like he felt Inouye's power and decided he didn't want to feel it anymore, so he fakes an injury, he quits, he gets out of there.
I think Nick's assessment is spot on. The thing is, I'm not the one giving TJ a title shot. Nick is. So when you take a shot at him and you trash him, it begs the question, then why are you giving him this opportunity? Why is he being afforded the chance to fight for another alphabet title coming right off a loss where you think he quit?
He's not your mandatory. You don't owe him this opportunity. In your eyes, he didn't earn it.
There's no way we get here without you being on board. There's no way we get here, there's no way he gets a title shot if you don't give it to him. So when you tear him down, you're indirectly tearing yourself down because you're the one fighting him.
Nick's taking it easy. He had a really rough sequence of fights. A former champion in Isaac Dogbay, a current reigning champion in Ray Vargas, then another one in Ray Savage.
So you can interpret the Ronnie Rios fight as Nick taking his foot off the gas, and he earned it. And in truth, I'm not even criticizing him for fighting TJ.
You want to fight that guy? You want to give that guy a title shot? Go ahead. But you and I both agree that he quit, so if he quit and you fight him, it's gotta be because you're taking it easy.
How else did we get here? And I wonder if beyond this, things won't get a bit more serious. Will Nick Ball be the one to try to unify titles and become this division's unified champion in this era? Because it seems like the featherweight division has stood divided for as long as I can remember. I've said it on previous videos that I think Nick Ball has the greatest potential compared to the other champions at this weight to become a draw in his own right. A draw in Liverpool, as opposed to Brandon Figueroa and Angelo Leo and Rafael Espinoza, who are all right. They're all good fighters in their own right, but they ain't big draws.
So that when you see Nick going from fighting Ronnie Rios to fighting TJ Doheny, it's with the preservation of that vision in mind. Taking it easy.
Building yourself up even more in your native Liverpool to amass an even bigger audience. Nick has a fan-friendly style. He is an action fighter, a pressure fighter, and a strong one. They're putting Nick in a showcase fight because they don't want to jeopardize what he could be. Not now that he has a belt. Not now that he is a champion.
Nick has already been in there with some really good fighters and he's held his own every single time. So now
he's earned his stripes. Now it's about selling tickets. Now it's about turning him into an attraction. I actually think they can. But there's just no way you can take a shot at TJ Doheny for quitting, and that's what he did, without indirectly taking a shot at yourself, because you're the one who's voluntarily fighting him. And finally, in men's junior middleweight news, the WBO won't recognize Errol Spence Jr. as a world title challenger in the Sebastian Fundora bout. It would seem they're allowing Sebastian to have this fight without stripping him.
But their title isn't actually on the line.
Orlando, Florida, amid the expectation that unified junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora will next meet former three-belt welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr., only one of the belts will be on the line in the bout. The WBC title, not the WBO. An official connected to the decision told Boxing Scene on Friday that the World Boxing Organization has ruled it will not sanction Fundora vs. Spence as a world title fight for multiple reasons connected to Spence's position. The bout will be allowed to proceed as a non-title fight in the World Boxing Organization's eyes, and Fundora will retain the belt by winning. But if Southern California's Fundora loses to Spence, the belt will be taken from him and presented to 4-division and current WBA champion Terrence Crawford, who stands now as the WBO's interim junior middleweight champion. Fundora, 21-1 with 13 KOs, also wears the World Boxing Council's belt by virtue of his bloody, narrow win over Tim Kazoo this past March in Vegas. The World Boxing Council's belt is expected to be in play. The WBO, however, has decided Texas Spence, 28-1 with 22 KOs, does not meet standards required to fight for its belt for these primary reasons. Spence is 34 and hasn't fought since his July 9th round TKO loss to Crawford, in which Spence was knocked down 3 times before the stoppage arrived. 2, he's coming off a bad knockout loss and has never fought at junior middle. 3, he is not ranked among the WBO's top 15 junior middles despite petitioning for that position at the recent WBO convention in Puerto Rico. If the WBO allows Spence to fight for the belt, it starts a bad precedent for others, the officials said on the condition of anonymity, because they are not authorized to discuss the ruling on a fight that is still in negotiations. There is no official date or venue for Fundora vs. Spence, but at this week's World Boxing Council convention in Hamburg, Germany, Fundora told Boxing Scene, "That fight's next for us." Spence appeared in the ring following Fundora's victory over Tim Kazoo to start hyping the showdown between them.
A bad precedent is right. The bar of standard for what passes for a title fight in this postmodern era is lessened as of late, to the point to where you wonder why it's even an honor. You're giving away title shots like Halloween candy.
To whatever whatever quasi-popular fighter, semi-retired fighter you think can bring your organization sanctioning fees. I'm glad that the WBO isn't selling their soul and they're putting their foot down, that they're not allowing this chicanery like the World Boxing Council so often does.
A world title opportunity is supposed to be something you earn, and a world title in and of itself is supposed to be some kind of an honor. But what kind of honor is it really when you so easily give away an opportunity like this one to a guy like Errol?
They're making it way too easy to where winning one doesn't even mean anything anymore. Consider that the great Harvin Magler had something like 49 professional fights before he got to fight for a title.
In the Vito Antifermo fight.
And he had 53 recorded fights before he ever got to win one.
In the Alan Minta fight.
That you should be so cavalier in giving away those opportunities in this postmodern era. It's no wonder that you don't see as many stars in the American boxing scene in this day and age. You've taken away all its meaning, what it means to be a champion.
Because it is more about what it takes to get there and having the audience follow along in that journey.
Get your ass kicked at 147 so that you can be ranked as a top contender at 154 and fast-tracked to a world title shot?
Ridiculous.
Give a guy like this a title shot and undermines the entire process, which comes at the expense of the sport's integrity if it has any left.
WBO is trying to maintain a bar of standard while the WBC willfully whores themselves to whoever can get them sanctioning fees.
Of course you want to fast-track him to a title shot while he still has some marquee value, because if he has to start over, he may not make it there. And you want to make some money off of him while you still can.
Squeezing blood out of a grape.
They're parasites that treat every single fight like it's a fire sale, trying to make off like bandits, to where if that happens enough, the sport just isn't what it used to be, and some people don't even view it as a sport anymore.
Why aren't champions in the sport of boxing viewed in the same light as champions in another discipline, another sport?
Because you could get a pastrami sandwich to a title so long as he's in with the right people. It's gotta stop. And I'm glad that at least one alphabet organization is putting their foot down, that Errol will not have the opportunity to win the brown belt.
Ahead of the guy who kicked his ass?
No dice.